Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well and having a great Tuesday so far. In tonight's video, we're going to be talking about the extremely cold temperatures that'll start to kind of move in later this week, and will honestly really start to move in kind of over the next couple of days, but really towards later this week into this weekend. And then we'll be also mainly talking about the potential for a snowstorm in the southern U.S. Probably sometime next week, and that'll be something we'll be breaking down in this video and just discussing. And then we'll also just look at the overall pattern and just look for what we could expect over the next really week, and then mainly focus again on that snowstorm potential for the southern U.S. again, probably sometime next week, most likely the middle of next week. But that'll be the main topics for this video. If you are new to the channel, welcome. I do forecasts and updates like these, and I'm glad you have clicked on the video. But let's go ahead and get started with tonight's update. First, we'll be starting off with the Climate Prediction Center. And so first here we have our 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, and this is the latest outlook that has been released today, and this is valid for the 20th through the 24th of January. And so below average temperatures are expected for almost the entire continental United States, except for a small area up here into Nevada and Northern California. And then for our precipitation outlook here, below average precipitation is expected into portions of the, I would say, central U.S., Midwest, Ohio Valley, and portions of the northeastern U.S., and then much of the western U.S. could see below average precipitation for the 20th through the 24th of January. And then above average precipitation is expected into kind of northern Michigan, the upper peninsula of Michigan, the north central U.S., and portions of the southeast and extreme or really deep south, I should say, again for that 6 to 10 day range, the 20th through the 24th of January. And then next we'll move on to our 8 to 14 day outlook, and this is valid starting January 22nd through the 28th of January. And so again, almost the entire continental United States is going to be expected to be in an area of below average temperatures. And so again, the only exception to this is into Nevada and California. And again, that is for that 8 to 14 day range. And then looking at our precipitation outlook here, above average precipitation is actually expected into quite a bit, or at least near normal precipitation is expected into quite a bit of the continental United States. But again, quite a few areas of above average precipitation is expected into the central U.S., much, if not really all of the southeast actually, and then into the deep south and upper south, even into an area of the Midwest as well. And then into the kind of Great Lakes region, those areas could be above average for precipitation for that 8 to 14 day range, again starting the 22nd of January through the 28th of January. And so this will be something we'll have to watch as well as we get further into that timeline, and especially next week. I think next week could kickstart maybe a more active southern jet stream, I would say, and we'll be having to kind of monitor our chances for systems of the south, because the experts, the Climate Prediction Center definitely does show, overlapping of cold air and above average precipitation, especially into these areas here. That just, to me at least, spells some sort of winter weather, I would say, for these areas, especially for January. So that'll just be the main things we'll have to watch as we get in the next week and a half to 2 weeks from now. But that is going to be it for the Climate Prediction Center for tonight. Next, we'll be looking at temperature anomalies on the EPS ensembles, and this is the morning run from today. And so what temperature anomalies are is it just shows areas that could potentially see below average or above average temperatures, and the below average temperatures are in that blue to purple to pink color, and the above average temperatures are in that kind of yellowish to then orange and red and almost a brown color at the very end. So if we start off with tonight on Tuesday. As you can see here, let me get my tool out here. We have below average temperatures already moving into much of the north central U.S. Into those areas right now and into tonight. And so if we continue this on, those below average temperatures move in, and I know you can see above average temperatures here, but we'll get to that in just a second. That'll eventually again change to below average temperatures, so just kind of keep your eye on this area right here. And so those below average temperatures stay for a little bit of time, maybe a couple of days, and then kind of by Thursday midday, and I would say Friday, those could be probably our warmest days across the entire continental United States. And then some cold air is expected into the northeast. And then as we get into this weekend and later this week, then we finally have our below average temperatures here move in, and those will head kind of down to the southeast and mainly just east. But we'll get, though, those temperatures will get to the southeast as well. And then in some of these areas, you could see just maybe a couple days this weekend or later this week with above average temperatures, but nothing too crazy as expected right now. But I would definitely enjoy these above average temperatures for this weekend, because it's definitely going to get cold after this. But if we continue this on here, you finally have those temperatures really spread across the U.S. And then by next Monday, this coming Monday, I mean, you already have almost, if not the entire continental United States, even a couple of degrees to almost even 20 degrees below average in some of these areas into the kind of Rockies and central U.S. there. And that continues on. I mean, you have cold air lingering around in these areas for quite some time, and you don't really see a substantial warm up until maybe not this weekend, but the weekend after this coming weekend, through the maybe 24th, 25th range. But still, that's pretty far out, so we'll have to take that with a grain of salt and see how that would play out. But again, that cold air is just expected to linger around, and that'll definitely help with any systems that move in here into the southern U.S. if you are a winter weather fan, that is, to get a maybe wintry mix or at least a winter storm out of this. And this is just definitely a supportive pattern of winter storms for sure. And so now we'll be looking at the GFS weather model. This is the 18Z run from today, and it is currently still loading in, so we won't be able to see the entire run, but we'll be able to see quite a bit of it, and especially the period we want to see next week. And I may go back to this later if I need to, because again, it's just right about to that period where we need to see next week, but maybe it'll come in a little more and we can see some more frames from that later on. But first we'll start off with this week, and then we'll get into this weekend and eventually next week. But not a whole lot's going on really right now. I mean, you could see some kind of lake effect snow up here into the Great Lakes and Northeast, especially tonight, and then probably into early tomorrow on Wednesday. And that continues, and you could even see some snow really just into, again, the Northeast, maybe the Central Appalachians as well. And then that continues on, and then we get into Wednesday night, then eventually into Thursday morning, and you could have a little bit of a quick dumping of snow here, maybe midday Thursday, with this kind of energy up to the north. Not dumping of snow, but a light snow event, not dumping, excuse me. But that could deliver just maybe a little bit of snow into these areas, into the Ohio Valley, portions of the Northeast and Great Lakes region. And then as we watch here, as you go into this weekend, again, not a whole lot is expected. You could see some snow out here into the Rockies and northwestern U.S. by early Saturday morning. And then we have our other system. We have this low pressure way up here into Canada, and then you could see some snow maybe into portions of the Ohio Valley again, the Great Lakes region. And then you'll just see mostly a rain event for places, really southern Ohio, points south. That's mainly going to be a rain event, maybe some sleet or ice mixed in to the higher elevations potentially there if cold air gets in there quick enough. But this again will be maybe a light to, I would say maybe maybe a moderate snow event, but probably more of a light snow event for the northeastern U.S. and portions of the Great Lakes region and Ohio Valley. But not a whole lot is expected with that system. And so that'll finally move out. And then you could see, again, this is another kind of complex system as we get into later this coming weekend, into Sunday night, into Monday. You could see maybe a low pressure develop off into the Atlantic, off the coast of the Carolinas. And then you could see a quick snow event here into West Virginia, maybe northern North Carolina. And then even this low pressure rides up the coast. And this could actually be a quick hitting snow event for maybe portions of the Northeast and New England as well, maybe southern New England, and that would head off and hit kind of southern New England to the Northeast, maybe sometime again on Monday, and then that would finally go up, way up there off the coast of Maine by probably Monday night. And then finally we'll get to our other system down here, and you can already see it showing up here. This is going to be our main system we'll be talking about probably tonight, but we'll mention the other systems a little bit as well, but this will be our main topic. And so the run isn't fully loaded in yet, but we'll get back to this later, and I'll continue to show the rest of that run for our potential storm for next week. And so now we're going to be looking at the EPS and GEFS ensembles. And first we'll be starting off with the EPS ensemble. And so for this allows us to see the red colors. Let me go forward with this a little bit. So these red colors right here, those are areas of low pressure. And what this is basically an average of many different members put together, so we can see our signals for maybe a low pressure or high pressure seen in this blue color right here. And those little numbers are, again, areas of low pressure. And so the area we're going to have to watch here as we get into the middle part of next week. And so there's that little bit of a signal there for maybe a system for the maybe mid-Atlantic and Northeast late this weekend into early on Monday. And then that continues to move out by at least late Monday night. And so then we see our area of low pressures down here in the Gulf of Mexico. There's our signal for next week. It's already showing up there. And so confidence has definitely increased from what I've seen personally that we could see a potential system. I would say maybe not the system, but a track of the potential low pressure maybe into, I would say maybe something like that, something in these areas here. This could still go way up here, or even stay out here, not connect with our other energy to the north. But that's just what I'm seeing personally. And if you go to midday Wednesday, this is where we can see probably our strongest signal into these areas here. And as you can see, those red colors, I know it is hard to see, but those red colors are, again, areas of low pressure, and that could be a potential winter storm for maybe areas of the southeast. So that's just something we'll have to watch for sure as we get into next week. So the signal is definitely there. I know it doesn't look like a whole lot, but it's trended towards more of a connection with the northern stream and the southern stream. And so you just have this connection of moisture and energy, and that would eventually lead us to be talking about some sort of winter weather event for the southeast and south central U.S. So that is, again, just what the EPS ensembles show. And then if we go to the GEFS ensembles here and look at the same thing, we won't be able to look at the 18Z because it is still loading. But looking at the 12Z GEFS ensembles here, and we go to that same time period, there's even, to me personally, this is even more of a signal showing up here on the GEFS ensembles. I mean, you have lows showing up all the way across the Gulf Coast and out into the Atlantic as well. And so the GEFS ensembles definitely does want to show more southern track, I would say. Let me change the size of that so y'all can see it a little bit better. But that would show more of a southern track as opposed to something maybe like this. You wouldn't see snow as far south, I would say, there. So that's just something to consider. And we are pretty far out still from this, so I'm not gonna I'm not going to pinpoint small little details like that. But the signal is definitely there if you are a winter weather fan for the southeast and south central US. So I would definitely just stay weather aware if you live into kind of these, I would say these areas right here, for that potential winter weather event maybe next week, and then even into the mid-Atlantic and northeast this weekend as well. I would stay weather aware if you live in those areas, just to watch out for maybe a system there. But that's just what I've been seeing, and that's just what the ensemble show right now. And we'll get to more of the finer details the closer we get to this event. But I'm not going to talk this to death because I know it's still far out and a lot will change from now even into this weekend. And so now we're going to look at our trends on the EPS and GEFS ensembles here. And so at the very last part of the video, we'll be looking at the operational European and GFS runs, because again, the GFS is not fully loaded yet, but we'll say that for the end of the video, and we'll just discuss this real quick, and then we'll get to those operational runs. But again, if you are a winter weather fan into the really southern US, but specifically the southeast, this is trending more towards your way. And we'll start with we'll go all the way back to the beginning of the run. So we have the 0Z run from the 11th of January, and so if we speed this up here, you can go to each run from that time period every 6 hours, and you can see how a snow signal shows up farther to the south. So I know it's kind of hard to explain, but this just gives us an idea of where the members show potentially snow, and it gives us an average, a mean for these areas. So first, starting off with the 11th run, and we continue this on, and just keep your eye out for a snow signal here into the southern US. And so continuing that on there, you don't see a whole lot, and then finally as we get closer to the 13th of January, the 0Z run, you finally start seeing a little bit of something there, and then you continue that on even more and don't see a whole lot. And then finally by the 0Z run from today, or technically yesterday, but for today, you finally start to see something in the southeast and southern US. And then by the latest 12Z run, you do see a pretty good signal here on the EPS ensembles. And so this isn't just one run shown, or not one model showing this. This is the European, and then we'll get to the GEFS, in just a second. But both the EPS and GEFS ensemble show this, so that's why I'm just showing it as well, because it's not like this is just one model run that's doing its own thing. There's a little bit of agreement, at least between the two, but we'll get to the GEFS in just 1 second. So now looking at the GEFS ensemble, and I kind of messed up on the European. I meant to say 12-hour increments and not 6-hour. The GEFS is in 6-hour increments on pivotal weather, but the European is only in 12-hour increments, so it'd be every 12 hours you would get a new run. But the GEFS is in runs every 6 hours for the model trend. So if we continue this on, we'll go to about 258 hours out, and then just still looking the southern US and specifically the southeast. So you can see it's kind of went back and forth, and finally over the past couple of days you've been getting a steady increase here into Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, even Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky, even into West Virginia there, but that's associated with a different system mainly. But even into, again, Oklahoma, even into Kansas there's been a trend towards more of a snow risk for these areas, potentially, again, not late, but the middle part of next week to maybe later next week, after we have those systems move out to early next week. But again, that's just our signal there, and we'll have to continue to watch that, and that's just the trend we'll have to take with a grain of salt, I would say, right now, just because it is, again, a little far out, but the trend has been mostly good if you are a winter weather fan for the southeast and southern US. So now we'll be looking at the latest 18Z run to end off the video from the GFS, and then we'll look at the European as well. And so if you continue this on and you have our systems there, have your potential other little winter storm maybe again later this coming weekend into early on Monday for the Northeast and New England, and then you finally have your system showing up here. And this isn't the best looking run for all the operational runs that we've been seeing, but don't take this run as it's going to happen, because the EPS and GEFS ensembles are much better to look at for the long range than the operational runs are, just because you can get an average view of what we could potentially see instead of just one view that's completely different than the other. You'll have a crazy run, and then you'll have a good run if you are a winter weather fan, or you'll have a bad run and just have a all out winter storm, and then you'll have one that's way out here into the Atlantic, and it just flops around a lot, especially at this longer time range. But I'll still show it. But again, this latest run doesn't show a whole lot, but it does show a winter weather event into maybe the Carolinas, I would say, and then even into Georgia there, and then it would have like a nor'easter towards later next week. But again, 234 hours out on our operational weather model is not reliable at all. So just take that with a grain of salt, and I would definitely keep the ensembles more into focus rather than the operational runs, just because it just gives us a better idea at this range. So the run before these, the previous runs before this have been showing all out winter storms for the southeast. So like this one right here. And then the next run doesn't show a whole lot. This current run doesn't show much at all. So again, it's just going to flip flop back and forth. But finally, we'll look at the European weather model here, the 12Z run from today, and I'll show it as well. It doesn't show a whole lot. Then you have your system this weekend. Then you have that other one late this weekend into early next week. Doesn't show as much of a winter weather threat for the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, but it does still show some snow, or at least light snow for those areas. And then you get our other system, and I take that back. I didn't even know the 12Z European model showed that, but I don't think I've looked at it a whole lot today. But it actually does show a pretty major winter storm for the southeast and southern U.S. The middle part of next week, Wednesday into Thursday, and then it also does have kind of a nor'easter there as well. But I don't know why I was thinking this didn't even show a winter storm, but it actually does. But again, I know I'm going to say this a lot, but it's going to change like the wind, and we'll just take this with a grain of salt. But if this were to happen, then that would be a substantial winter storm and ice storm for sure. But we can't just take this as it's going to happen. We'll just have to continue to rely mostly on the ensembles until we get into, I would say, this weekend, and then we can start looking at the operational runs a little bit more and break down them a little more. But that's really going to be about it for the weather models for tonight. So that'll be it for tonight's update. I appreciate all of y'all watching, and I hope y'all have had a great Tuesday and have a great Wednesday as well. I apologize for me being so kind of janky on my wording in tonight's video. It's just a lot to talk about for sure, and we just have so much to cover over the next couple of weeks. It's a very active period, and it's going to get active, especially as we get into next week. But I'm not sure when the next time I'll be able to do a video, but hopefully it'll be in the next coming days, especially this weekend. I'll try to have a video out, because I know we'll finally get a good look of what the system could potentially do this weekend. Not this weekend, but we'll be able to look at what it could do, next week. And then this weekend we'll be able to look at what the models show, if that makes sense. But it's just a lot to talk about, for sure. I appreciate y'all watching, and I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all's day.